Okay, I want you to just imagine sitting entirely alone in a quiet room. The door's closed, the outside world is just completely shut away. For a fleeting second, everything feels profoundly peaceful, right? There are no immediate demands, no one needs an answer from you, there's no music playing to fill the space. You're completely, utterly devoid of distractions.
But if you let that silence build for just a moment, notice how incredibly fast that peace starts to fracture. A subtle, almost invisible tension creeps in, almost instinctually. Your hand twitches. You know that feeling. That urge to reach for your phone appears literally out of nowhere. It's like an invisible magnetic pull. You just need a video, a message, something, honestly anything, to break the quiet.
And this raises a deeply fascinating mystery for us. Why do we struggle so much to simply sit alone with our own thoughts? Why does the absence of noise so quickly transition from this peaceful state right into something painful? And honestly, why in the absolute most connected era in all of human history do so many of us feel profoundly alone the very second the screens go dark?
Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're looking at why humans fear being alone. We're going to peel back the layers of our daily routines to uncover this really ancient psychological force that operates, quite literally, beneath the surface of everything we do. To really grasp this, we have to look backward. See, today we usually experience loneliness as an emotional or, a social problem. But for the vast majority of human history, it was much more literal than that. Humans evolved in small communities, tribes, families. Our survival depended entirely on cooperation, protection, finding resources, opportunities. They all came from belonging to the group. If you somehow got separated from the tribe, you faced predators, scarcity, and severe vulnerability. Basically, isolation equated to literal danger.
So, over countless generations, the human brain adapted to this brutal reality. It hardwired a really simple rule right into our psychology. Connection means safety, and isolation means danger. And here's the truly unsettling part of this. Even though our modern society looks completely different, we have secure homes, supermarkets, locked doors, those ancient survival mechanisms, they never actually disappeared. They're still active, quietly running in the background, influencing exactly how we feel whenever we happen to find ourselves alone.
Section 1. Solitude versus loneliness. Now, what's really interesting about this is how constantly we mix up these two concepts. But look, solitude is something you choose. It's peaceful. Loneliness, on the other hand, is something imposed upon you. It's painful. Think about it. You could spend an entire weekend entirely alone in a cabin and feel perfectly 100% content in your solitude. But conversely, you could stand in the middle of a crowded room, literally surrounded by people, and feel intensely isolated. Because loneliness isn't actually about physical distance. It's that terrifying feeling of being unseen, unknown, and totally misunderstood by the people right there around you.
And that brings us to your brain's number one absolute singular priority, protecting your social bonds. This is exactly why social rejection hurts so incredibly much. Being ignored, excluded, or abandoned, it creates an emotional pain that is remarkably, honestly surprisingly, intense. Your brain treats rejection as a massive existential threat because, evolutionarily speaking, social exclusion carried serious, fatal consequences. That pain of being left out, that's just your brain sounding a primal alarm.
But here's the thing. We don't just want a baseline connection to survive. People want significance. We have this profound, deep-seated need to matter, to contribute, and to feel important in the lives of others. We unconsciously build massive parts of our own identity around our relationships. Who we are becomes intimately intertwined with who we belong with. So when those bonds weaken, we don't just lose a friend, we kind of lose our own sense of identity.
Section 2. The modern paradox. We are, in many ways, living in an illusion. Look at this incredibly tangled web of digital noise. People have literally never been more technologically connected. We've got instant messages, video calls across the globe, networks linking billions of us. Yet widespread loneliness is actually increasing. Why is that? Well, and this brilliantly illustrates the point, it's because technology provides access, but access does not automatically create intimacy. We have constant communication, but without actual closeness. Unprecedented visibility, but zero belonging. We're interacting constantly, sure, but we rarely feel truly understood.
So if we're constantly surrounding ourselves with the noise of all these shallow connections, what exactly are we running from? At a deeper level, what if we're not actually terrified of being alone in a room? What if we are not afraid of loneliness itself, but of what happens when we are alone?
Because think about it, True silence strips away all the stimulation, and in that quiet, you're forced to actually face yourself. All those thoughts you postponed, the big questions you ignored, the emotions you buried deep down. We spend enormous, frankly exhausting amounts of energy every single day just trying to avoid these uncomfortable internal experiences.
And modern society absolutely knows this. In fact, it profits immensely from it. We've essentially built an entire ecosystem designed to eliminate silence. Streaming platforms, social media feeds, 24/7 news cycles, endless entertainment. We are offered this relentless, bottomless well of distraction right in our pockets, completely ensuring we never, ever have to face the quiet.
But take a look at the cyclical trap this creates. The less time we spend alone with our thoughts, the more unfamiliar solitude becomes. And unfamiliarity breeds discomfort. To escape that creeping discomfort, what do? We immediately activate a distraction. We grab the phone. And so the cycle of avoidance continues, reinforcing itself over and over again until just sitting quietly feels like a literal threat to our system.
Section 3. The future of connection.
As we look toward this incoming future of, AI companions and virtual friendships, we really have to reframe how we view this feeling. Loneliness isn't some enemy to be escaped through a glowing screen. As this quote perfectly states, just as physical pain signals a physical need, loneliness may signal a social need. It's not a punishment. It's simply your biology reminding you of a fundamental truth. You are a deeply social creature who absolutely requires meaningful human bonds to thrive.
So, the crucial point here is this. Our fear of being alone is rarely just about sitting in an empty room. It's ultimately rooted in this universal, undeniable desire to be connected to something larger than ourselves. It is the fear of disconnection. Disconnection from others, sure, but also disconnection from meaning, and ultimately disconnection from our true selves when we constantly drown out our internal lives with endless digital noise.
But, this leaves us right on the edge of another truly fascinating psychological cliff. If human beings are driven so powerfully by the need to belong, why do we care so much about exactly how others see us? Well, because the need for connection is really only half the story. The other half is the desire for status. And that hidden psychology of the social hierarchy, that is exactly what we'll explore next time.